Got my Flint knapping set. I got my axes. Yeah. Got a bracket fungus stove. Tin full of pine sap. And I got some flint knives to talk about today. Brought my compass. Birds are right over there somewhere. Yeah. Nice view of the lake down there. Today's gonna be a nice day. So it's real easy to use a stone like this to carve with. And you see I just cutting the wood right out. You know, so a nice stone knife is absolutely perfect thing to use for doing any kind of woodworking. Yep. Yeah, there's nothing to replace a good stone knife. And you can tell I've been using this one. The tip's a little broken off of it. But even though I've been using it quite a bit, it's holding a good edge. It's easy to maintain. So I've gotten a lot more than just a single use out of this. And where, you know, a lot of these kind of tools, maybe, yeah, they are single use. But yeah, I intend to use this quite a bit. And, you know, just to show you, you know, if you need to like remove bark with one of these. The thing about using a flint tool to remove bark with is the tool kind of has friction between it and the material that you're cutting. So that makes it grab in really good. And because it's a stone, it slides across the harder wood on the inside and just kind of makes a perfect situation. So the material just gets stripped right off. Super easy, super quick. Yeah, then it leaves you with a nice smooth piece of material to continue working. Yeah, love the smell of pine. But anyway, that leaves a nice smooth edge, or a nice smooth surface to continue doing your work with. And then, if you want to cut it off, you just score it and snap it off. Cut a ring all the way around the material, go all the way around it. And you just score, snap, comes right apart just like that, right? And I'll do that again. You just score a ring all the way around the piece of material that you want to cut. Yeah, you just plow a little, cut line all the way around. And it snaps right off, and it gives you your piece of material. And then, when you want to touch up your stuff, I've got, I don't know if you folks remember it or not, but I've got my flint knapping set, my bird-shaped flint knapping set. And this is, the billet or the hammer rock. Now, I won't be using that to sharpen this, but usually what I do is I'll take my palm stone. I'll take my palm stone and you got to lay the stone on there so that it has direct contact, You don't want the edge of your stone to be lifted up in any kind of way. But if you want to touch up that edge, all you got to do is lay that on there and then snap off little chips with this. Chip it on one side and you turn it over and chip a little bit on the other. Just go real carefully, real slowly. And what you can do is touch up those little chipped and fractured edges, and it'll give it a nice sharp point again. Just got to keep turning the stone, working from one side to the next. You'll see when I'm done here. Yeah, there. Now that's got a nice sharp point on it again. See, where it was broken off a little bit, now it's got a nice, comes right down to a sharp point. Yeah, and that's with a palm stone and with a chipper. And a palm stone doesn't always mean that you got to hold the stone like this, because sometimes you can't hold it like that. Usually what I do is I'll lay it on my leg, like right here, and then I'll position the stone with my other hand however it needs to rest on my work surface, and then I'll chip it. But the palm stone makes a nice solid base that allows me to control what I'm taking off of the stone. And yeah, you just do it like that. And so flint knapping can be a lot of fun, especially when you're maintaining your tools. But for the real serious hard cuts, like if I had a really stubborn piece of leather I wanted to cut or something like that, I would probably use just a broken piece like this. Just snap off a piece and use that raw broken edge that hasn't been chipped. to do my cutting with. Yeah, that gives you a superior affair right there. And you can see I tried making a tomahawk with this stone right here, and you can see how it failed. Kind of broke off short to where it should have been. But you know, I still have an effective tool that I can use. You know, I still got a good tool out of it, even though it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. So if you work with stone, yeah, you just have to practice with it. That's all. You know, you learn the character of the stone, you learn how to work it, and you learn how to predict what it's going to do. And you know, that's how you gain mastery over it. And it just takes practice. It just takes determination. You know, you have to have the will to want to do it. And you know, making tools like this cast iron tomahawk head, this kind of stuff can be really interesting. And it's kind of a difficult material to work with, cast iron is. But it's crispy. I mean, it's crispy, kind of like stone is. I mean, it does work a lot like stone. You know, so if you choose to try and make stuff like this, you know, and chip out some stuff from cast iron, yeah, you just have to learn how to score the metal. You know, you score the metal and strike it with a force. You know, you can't just you know, flint knap it off with your bare hands. It takes more force than that. You got to use leverage. You know, you use a lever with a metal pinch. You know, a pincher to pinch it off with, pinch off the pieces. But yeah, if you do that, you can end up with a tomahawk like this. And I really wish this didn't have that little fracture in there, because I could use this to make a tomahawk head out of. But it has a little tiny crack that runs through it. It runs all the way across the backside. It's right straight across from right there. So you try to make something out of this, it would just pop in half. As soon as you start, I mean, if you tried breaking the pieces out after you've scored it to make the tomahawk head, this would just shatter in half, and you'd never get the piece. It would break before you could get to this point, you know, before you get a finished piece. This would just fall apart. So that's why this one is a cast off. But it was a lucky thing for us that I was able to find this piece, because this shows us what the blank for this looked like, you know. And this is absolutely, you know, start, finish, you know. They would start by getting a blank that was popped out into this basic shape, break it out into that shape. You know, you score lines on it, snap it off. Then you would go in and refine it and make it look like this. And you know, so you can see how you know they're just like well fitted together. So that's some really interesting stuff right there, and I'm glad I was able to share that tool with you, because I've heard a lot of debate about the use of cast iron and whether or not they used the score and snap method, or if they had grinding tools and had, you know, extensive blacksmithing practices or whatever. And with this method right here, you just make the cast iron and pour it into a thin billet, and then snap it out, you know. So it's like you just pour this out, you know, you pour metal out onto the ground and pick up the pieces and then break these out of it, which is what looks like this they did with this. So no, you don't need advanced technology and extensive blacksmithing skills to be able to make a tomahawk that looks like this, because it was just scored and snapped out by hand with, you know, leverage, with lever tools. they did have to know how to use levers, you know, so that's technology, right? So, but you know, finding this artifact out in the woods was a, you know, really incredible thing, because it's a, you know, a unique window into how these pieces were manufactured, how the iron tomahawk heads were manufactured. And honestly, you can see it's a wood steel kind of thing too, because you can see grain. You know, I can see a grain pattern in it. So this was definitely like a wood steel. Well, actually, it's not steel. It's a cast iron. You know, it has a wood steel, you know, texture to it, and grain pattern that's in the metal itself. But it's just, you know, like really pure iron, you know, cast iron, or really pure iron. So that makes it really cool. Yeah, and that's what the original real tools are shaped like. I'm showing you what they're shaped like, even, you know, too, also. And that may be more important than, you know, making one that looks like this. Now you know exactly what the shape is, you know. Now that you guys know what the shape is, you can make these, because these are shaped to be fitted into wooden handles. You know, you have a hole in your piece of wood, and this, you know, fits into it. So I actually don't have a tomahawk setup like that today to show you, but that's all right. And then there's wood splitting tools like this cave bear's head. Yeah, it's a stone that's shaped like a cave bear's head. And you can see this is the part that would have done the actual wood splitting, the nose part. And you'd stick that into a crack of a piece of dead wood laying on the ground. You know how the dead wood will get a split that runs down it? That's what you do with this. You stick that into the split, and you whack the back of the bear's head, and the nose dives right into the split and pops a piece of wood in half. Yeah, so that's a really cool tool right there. And there's also a pair of scissors that they used to make too, that was made out of two stones that look similar to this. So, some more neat little trivia. So now the next thing I want to show you is this bracket fungus right here that I'm going to use for a stove. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, if I can get the can open, get my tin open. What I'm going to use is Pine Sap. Yeah, this is like a Pine Sap lamp. The nice thing about these is you can set them in places where you can set them up level like that. that, boy. That's a nice, wow. Look at the color of that. It's like, yeah, it's like the nicest amber, you know, color. Yeah, so really all you got to do to set one of those up is, you know what I do, I'll carve that. See how it's got a little wick right there? I'll leave that little stripe on there. That actually makes a wick for the stove to burn. That's actually what's going to do the burning here in a minute once I catch this on fire. But as you can see, it's just a regular shelf bracket, you know? That's all it is. Yeah, but these make really, really excellent stoves. All right. Set that right there. Yeah, they can be a little fussy to get lit. Especially when you're just out here in the wind. So that's usually all it takes. You got to shield the early fire so the wind doesn't snatch it out. But once the burning pine sap soaks into the bracket fungus a little bit and starts burning away, then it'll make a fire that won't go out, even in wind. See what I mean? Yep, that's just regular pine sap. The dried pine sap off a tree. See? You can see it boiling in there just like oil. Yeah, these make a really potent fire. Very dependable. That's why I'm showing you the method. It's the bracket fungus and some pine sap. And it has to be a dry bracket too, folks. Yeah, once they get burning really good, yeah, once the flame sets into the bracket really good, it won't go out. But the bracket fungus has to be absolutely, it has to be just dead and dried. It can't be wet. It can't be a live one, you know. It has to be dead and dry. But if you get a dead and dry bracket fungus, get a good view of it right there. Yeah, just burning right out in the wind too. See, it's breezy out here. It's not going out. Yep. That's Trapper Jack's bracket fungus stove. Oh, it has such a good smell too. Love the smell of pine sap when it burns. See? And while you're sitting around the bracket fungus lamp, you can make your fine objects and have a dependable little fire. You don't have to chase wood to go and do other things you need to do. You know, you can just sit there and do what's important instead of having to chase wood all the time. So it puts off good light, puts off fairly good heat. It is kind of smoky because it's just pine sap. But if you burn oil in these, if you use oil, they're far less smoky. In fact, I think they're better. I think they burn better with cooking oil. You want to take a look. Yeah, you want to kind of try and set them so that they sit level. That way the pine sap doesn't pour out of them. That trough that I made in there serves as a bowl to hold the pine sap. And as you can see, it's taken over the whole entire bracket, and it will. The whole entire thing will catch on fire. So they make good heating stoves, and they make good cooking stoves. And they happen to put off decent lighting also. That's Trapper Jack's bracket fungus stove. Alright, so I was really glad to be able to share that with you today, folks. That right there is something I really enjoy. Camping, getting out in the woods and all that stuff. Having things like this, I mean, to use while I'm out here in the wilderness, like, is just really, really nice. Something simple like this, it can change your whole entire day, make your whole entire mood way better. It's unbelievable how much just something, like the bracket fungus and a little bit of pine sap can change your whole entire mood. See, even in a high wind, look, it's just not going out. So that's how effective they are.